You know, I've had some really wacky and weird experiences, and I've been around long enough to have them. This one happened to me. It's a really good one. So, all right, here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Hey, I'm out here in the middle of the road. Not really, but I'm not hitchhiking either. Hey, this is a story about Midnight Mike, and it's a good one. They're going to start getting real wacky and weird now, and kind of scary. This one scared me, and there's another character in here that I didn't mention in the intro, and I won't mention until we get into it because it gets even a little weirder. And Midnight Mike's weird enough to start with. Okay, so I lived in Alaska, Denali National Park, a town called Healy, and I lived on Stampede Road. And it's where Into the Wild, that movie Into the Wild, the guy living in the bus, that's where he was, Chris McCandless. But he was way, way out there. I never even went out where he was. I went out once, but I didn't go out there regular. That's way out there. It's where the road turns into a trail. Well, a lot of us lived on that road, and people still do. It's turned into a subdivision now. And there's a guy that's lived out there in a cabin for years and years and years. He used to work at the local hotel. His name's Midnight Mike. All right, so Midnight Mike doesn't drive. He never has driven. And he had a wife and kids at one time out there on Stampede Road. And they finally grew up and took off to college, and his wife, I think, went back to civilization because, you know, Mike didn't talk. And it was, now maybe he talked to his family, but here's why I know that, and everybody knows, is he hitchhiked. And he hitchhiked, and you could pick him up, and he just wouldn't talk to you. You know, and he wouldn't even look at you. So we're going to get into it now, because this day I picked him up got weird and wacky. So I pick him up. He's hitchhiking. You know, I know him well enough. I see him. I got to pick him up once. Everybody else has picked him up, taken him to town. He's got the old Kelty frame pack, and he uses that to go up to town and get groceries and everything he needs. And I'm sure he wasn't going to any doctor's appointments or anything. And then he would head back down, hitchhiking back down to the park from Fairbanks. It's like it's about a 2-hour drive. And hitchhiking, you know, that could take all day. But he always got picked up by locals, because if you weren't local and you didn't know him, it would freak you out if you picked him up, because he wouldn't talk. And long hair, kind of longer than mine. And anyway, you pick him up. Here's the drill. And he'd get in and sit, put the backpack in wherever, and sit and just look forward the whole way. And I would talk, but then I would quit talking because it's probably driving him nuts, right? If he's not talking, he probably doesn't want to hear you talk. So we're heading to Fairbanks, you know, and it's a long ride when you can't talk to somebody and they're sitting right next to you. And so we get up to this little town called Nenana. It's about halfway. And all right, there's another person hitchhiking, and it's another person that everybody sees all the time. And Nancy, and she went by the bearded lady. And I wouldn't call her I wouldn't even say the bearded lady if I thought that would offend her. Nancy's still around, lives in Fairbanks. And Nancy was just a great gal, you know, but with a full Alaskan beard, you know, like a man's long, you know, pretty long. And so, you know, if you first meet her, you're like, whoa, you know, I mean, we're not used to it. It's like the circus, you know, and you're not used to it and stuff. And maybe nowadays it's a little easier, but, you know, it's really took people back, and they wouldn't pick her up hitchhiking because she was dressed, you know, like a woman. And then you had, you know, I've told the story about the half guy who was hunting. Anyway, so now I got both of them. And it's good because now I got somebody to talk to. You know, Nancy's cool, and she says, hey, can you drop me off at Skinny Dick's halfway in? I'm not kidding you guys. Skinny Dick's halfway in. Look it up. It's a place. It's a bar. It's about halfway between Fairbanks and Nenana, and that town where I picked her up. And she's going to work at Skinny Dick's. She's bartending. What a great job for her. Anyway, so she, you know, we get up, we pull it now. Midnight Mike's pissed because he really would just rather us to be alone, not have to stop somewhere and let her out. But, you know, it's going to get good because Nancy says, why don't you come on in and have a beer? You know, but I'm driving, right? So I don't want to drink beer. So I said, well, no, I'll go in and check it out, and I'll put $1 on the wall. At Skinny Dick's, everybody puts $1 on the wall and signs it. It's a famous tourist area, and it's called Skinny Dick's Halfway In. And I won't tell you what the sign actually says below. Look it up. So I don't want to say that. Anyway, so we go inside. Mike stays in the car, and I go in and do the dollar thing, and then say, hey, see you later, Nancy. There's a bunch of people in there and a bunch of old codger guys. And they're like, whoa, we got a new bartender with a beard, and so it's really cool. And it's a woman, and she was the coolest woman ever. She became famous, and I know she's still there and around. At least a couple of years ago, I saw her, and not hitchhiking. So anyway, I get back to the car, and Midnight Mike's gone. He just decided, I'm not going to wait in the car, but it wasn't that long, So I pull back out, and I'm going to get to town. I figure, yeah, he must have got a ride, And then I see a guy with a backpack down the road walking, and I see Mike walking, and down the road, highway, and down here. And so I pull over to pick him up, and he turns around, and he goes, "Fuck you!" And I was like, whoa, God. Okay, Mike. And I go, you don't want to ride, dude? And he, fuck you. And I said, okay. So I took off. I knew he'd get a ride. It's not Alaskan winter. I didn't strand him anywhere. But that was weird. I expected him just to be in the car, I wasn't in there very long. Midnight Mike, getting a ride to town, no big deal. Anyway, interesting times in Alaska. Boy. Do I have more? I always say I'm saving more, and I am. They come up. I lived there a long time, 40 years. This is 40 years. All right, thanks you guys. Please like and subscribe. You enjoy these stories. Sometimes they're scary, sometimes they're weird and wacky, and a lot of times they're about bicycling and touring and tips and safety tips. All right, you guys, have a great day. Thank you.